If you're thinking about bringing home a Goldendoodle, or you're living with one right now and wondering why who you thought would be a calm family teddy bear sometimes acts more like a furry tornado, this episode is for you. Today, I'm giving you the complete 2026 picture of the Goldendoodle, where they actually came from, who they really are underneath that adorable coat, what real health testing looks like, and how to find a breeder you can trust with the next 12 plus years of your life. I'm Corinne Gearhart, certified dog trainer, doodle specialist with over 50,000 hours of hands-on doodle experience and author of Your Doodle's Daily Schedule Blueprint. And I recently spent 2 days in a room with the top Goldendoodle breeders in North America. What I learned there changed how I talk about this breed. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the Doodle Pro Podcast. Before we get into Goldendoodle history, I want to tell you why this episode matters so much to me personally. Years ago, I had a standard poodle named Hershey. We named her that because she was this rich chocolate brown puppy. Spoiler for later in this episode, she did not stay chocolate colored. Hershey came from what I believed was a good line. When I was younger, I didn't know what questions to ask, and I didn't know what health testing really meant. Hershey died at 4 years old. 4. Of a congenital issue that the right testing could have flagged generations before she was ever born. I would never undo having her in my life, but I would do anything to spare another family that heartbreak. That's why I built the Gold Standard Circle, my invitation-only network of breeders I've personally vetted. And it's why everything in today's episode exists, because loving your dog is not enough protection. Knowledge is. So, where did Goldendoodles come from? The answer is going to surprise the critics. The very first intentional golden retriever and poodle cross we know of happened in 1969, and this dog was bred by Monica Dickens. Yes, that Dickens, the great-granddaughter of Charles Dickens. And here's the part almost nobody mentions. She wasn't chasing a trend. She was breeding guide dogs for people with dog allergies. The first Goldendoodles in history were service dogs with a job to do. 20 years later in Australia, a breeder named Wally Conron faced the same puzzle. A blind woman needed a guide dog, but her husband was severely allergic. Conron crossed a Labrador with a poodle, and when nobody wanted those crossbred puppies, he gave them a name, the Labradoodle. The phone started ringing and never stopped. Now, critics love to quote Conron, calling that cross his life's regret. I just talked with John Seabrook, the New Yorker writer who profiled this whole world last week, and his take stuck with me. Conron wasn't even the first to make the cross. What he really authored was the word. And one possibly bad day interview shouldn't erase a legacy of dogs that have brought millions of families joy. Through the 90s, Goldendoodle popularity exploded. And explosions are messy. There were no standards, no accountability, no one checking whether breeders were doing right by these dogs. Enter Amy Lane of Fox Creek Farm in West Virginia. Amy got her start in dogs helping her childhood 4-H leader, one of the very first American Labradoodle breeders. In January of 2002, Amy created the first litter of Mini Goldendoodles in the world because families kept telling her they loved everything about the Goldendoodle except that size. She pioneered multi-generational breeding, Goldendoodles bred to Goldendoodles, which is how we got more predictable coats and temperaments. Today, it's hard to find a multi-generational Goldendoodle breeder in this country whose lines don't trace back to Fox Creek Farm. But here's what I respect most. Amy looked at the chaos of the Goldendoodle boom and decided someone had to raise the bar. She spent over a year building the Goldendoodle Association of North America, GANA, founded in 2009, the only breed club of its kind requiring, not suggesting, requiring OFA certifications for hips, elbows, eyes, heart, and patellas on every single parent dog, plus DNA panels, plus a rule that no two dogs related within 3 generations can be bred together. GANA now has mentored and certified over 150 breeders. John Seabrook featured Amy in his New Yorker piece, which we discussed last week on the podcast. And I'm proud to say that Fox Creek Farm is one of the programs in my gold standard circle. Next Thursday, Amy's business partner, Kelsey, joins me right here, along with GANA's president, Sherry Hall, and breeder mentorship chair, Brenda Agelson. And they do not hold back. But before you meet them, you need to understand who this dog actually is. Because a Goldendoodle is not a golden minus the shedding. Okay, let's pop the hood. A Goldendoodle is a partnership between 2 brilliant working breeds. And you need to know both sides of the family tree because your puppy can inherit from either one or both. Let's start with the Golden Retriever. Goldens generally live 10 to 12 years and range from 55 to 75 pounds. They're famous for a reason. Affectionate with family, wonderful with children, friendly with other dogs, eager to learn, and absolutely devoted to their people. They're also heavy shedders with a long double coat. They need real daily exercise, and they love food so much they can be prone to carrying a little extra weight. Honestly, same. But here is the layer most people never hear, and it changes everything about the Goldendoodle you bring home. There are 2 types of Golden Retriever. The show Golden is the one in your mind right now. Bigger, blockier head, stockier build, that flowing gold to cream coat. Show Goldens are calmer with less drive, and they're the more common in pet homes. The Field Golden is a different athlete entirely. Field Goldens were bred to hunt all day, retrieving downed birds for hours. They're smaller, slimmer, darker, often that gorgeous deep gold to red color. And they are built to run, jump, and swim from sunrise to sunset. They have a high drive and they need a job. If a Field Golden doesn't have a healthy outlet for that drive, their intelligence finds its own outlets. Chewed furniture, stolen socks, a backyard excavation project you did not approve. Hold on to that field versus show distinction because it's about to explain something you see everywhere on social media. Now, let's meet the other parent, the poodle. Poodles are deeply affectionate with their families, great with kids, and generally good with other dogs. They're celebrated for their incredible sensitivity, intelligence, athleticism, and of course, that low shedding coat. They were also bred as hunting retrievers, just like Goldens. People forget that. The poodle is not a fancy haircut. The poodle's an athlete wearing a fancy haircut sometimes. Poodles come in 3 recognized sizes. Toys average around 8 pounds and live 10 to 18 years. They make wonderful companions for adults and older families, but their small size makes them fragile around young children. And they can have size-specific issues like patellar luxation, which is a dislocating kneecap, and collapsing trachea. Minis average around 13 pounds, also living 10 to 18 years. And here's the surprise. Minis often have the highest energy of all 3 poodle sizes, higher than the big ones. Standards live around 12 to 15 years, range from 40 to 70 pounds, and are prone to hip dysplasia, Addison's disease, and bloat. Now, temperament. Many people say a poodle is a human in a dog's body. They're extremely smart, extremely trainable, and they have the highest mental stimulation needs of nearly any breed. They also tend to be vocal, and this is the big one. They are sensitive, more sensitive than most dogs you've ever lived with. A rough tone of voice, raised voices in the background, even tension in the house that has nothing to do with the dog. A poodle feels all of it. They can lean skittish, they're prone to separation anxiety, and they need early, frequent, and positive socialization. They're also spectacular jumpers, which is delightful in agility class and a bit of a project when guests come to the door. So, when you cross these two breeds, what do you get? And this is the most important sentence in this episode. You are not guaranteed the easygoing golden with just the non-shedding coat of the poodle. You might get exactly that. You might also get the sensitive, vocal, Velcro side of the poodle with the shedding coat of the golden. Most Goldendoodles land somewhere in between. A smart, social, athletic, emotionally tuned in dog with more energy and more sensitivity than the teddy bear marketing ever mentioned. And every single trait has a flip side. That human-focused, pro-social nature that makes your Goldendoodle greet guests like long-lost family. My own training mentor, Jean Donaldson, who specializes in chows, told me that chow owners would give anything for a single drop of that pro-social instinct. Your doodle jumping on people isn't dominance, and it isn't bad manners. It's a dog so socially motivated, they want to be face to face with you because that's how dogs often greet each other. We just happen to be vertical. The flip side of friendly is exuberant. The flip side of brilliant is busy. The flip side of devoted is prone to separation anxiety. None of these are flaws. They're features that need the right home and the right structure. And here's why I see the same pattern over and over in my work. Do you remember the field golden? The most popular Goldendoodle look right now is that deep, rich red coat. And that red color is very often pulled from field golden lines. So the family who chose their puppy because the red one was the prettiest just brought home the highest drive, most athletic version of an already athletic cross. Then they're confused and worn out when their dog can't settle. If you're looking at your red Goldendoodle right now, nodding slowly, you're not alone. And nothing is wrong with you or your dog. Genetics matter. And genetics are only half the story. Because here's the thing. The genetics are the hardware. How you run each day with your Goldendoodle is the operating system. You can have the most carefully bred Goldendoodle in North America. And if their daily life is chaotic, unpredictable, and overstimulating, you'll still have a dog who can't settle. That's exactly why I wrote Your Doodle's Daily Schedule Blueprint. These are smart, sensitive, athletic dogs, and what they need isn't more exercise piled on top of more exercise. That's the trap that most doodle parents fall into. An overtired doodle doesn't act tired. An overtired doodle acts like a caffeinated squirrel. What they need is rhythm, predictable waves of activity, enrichment, and genuine rest so their brilliant working dog brain learns that calm is part of the schedule, not an accident. When Goldendoodle parents tell me their dog finally started settling in the evenings, it's almost never because they found a magic training trick. It's because they changed the operating system. So, as we talk about choosing and raising this breed, remember, it's both. Choose the genetics carefully, then run the right system. The blueprint walks you through exactly that: morning routine, midday reset, evening wind down, and how to rotate enrichment so their brain gets worked, not just their legs. Okay, now let's talk about the part of this episode that could save you years of heartbreak and thousands of dollars. health testing. And I want to start by busting the single most common phrase you'll see on puppy websites: vet checked. Say it with me. Vet checked is not health tested. Vet checked means the puppy visited a veterinarian. That's it. That means a vet looked at the puppy and confirmed it was, in fact, a puppy. It tells you absolutely nothing about the genetic health of the parents or the soundness of the line. Real health testing happens on the parent dogs before a litter's ever planned, and it comes in 2 layers. Layer 1 is DNA testing. This is a cheek swab sent to the lab, and it costs a little over $100. And it can be done on a dog of any age, even a newborn. It screens for inherited diseases the dog carries, things like progressive retinal atrophy, bleeding disorders, and seizure conditions. Responsible breeders use these results to make sure 2 carriers of the same disease are never bred together. DNA testing is essential. And here's the catch. It's also the cheap, easy layer. And there are breeders out there who do only the $100 swab and then market their program as fully health tested. You'll see DNA tested on their websites. Layer 2 is where commitment shows. Orthopedic and physical testing, what you'll hear called OFA testing for the Orthopedic Foundation for Animals. This is the gold standard, and it covers 5 areas: hips, elbows, eyes, heart, and patellas. The hips and elbows are x-rays taken by a veterinarian sent to a board-certified radiologist for grading, the same way your own x-rays go to a specialist. The eyes are examined by a veterinary ophthalmologist. These tests can't be rushed. Final hip and elbow certifications generally mean waiting until the dog is around 2 years old. Think about what that asks of a breeder. They raise a promising dog for 2 years, invest in every test, and if that dog fails even one, an ethical breeder retires them from the program. All that time and money becomes what business folks call sunk costs, absorbed entirely out of love for this breed. I heard story after story like this at the GANA conference. One breeder told me about a beautiful dog who passed everything, then showed one tiny speck on an eye exam. Technically a fail. She retired the dog. Sit and stay right there. We'll be back right after this quick break. Quick note before we get back into it. Something big is coming this summer, and I want you on the list first. I'm bringing together some of the most respected voices in the dog world for the Doodle Pro Summit Parent Edition. 3 days of science-based, no shame, no blame guidance to help you raise your whole doodle, completely virtual. So wherever you call home in Doodle Pro Nation, you can join. Oh, and it's completely on the house. The waitlist is open right now, and getting on it does 3 things. You'll be the first to find out who's joining the lineup. You'll get first access before doors open to everyone else to the swag bag and lots of other bonuses. And while you wait, I'll send you my morning flow blueprint, my step-by-step routine for calmer mornings, completely complimentary. Go to doodleprosummit.com to save your seat. That's doodleprosummit.com. I can't wait to see you there. That dog is happily living today, but is not producing puppies for her lines. That is what ethics looks like when no one is watching. And this is why I want to give you one of my favorite questions to ask any breeder you're considering. Ask them, what tough calls have you had to make in your program? A real breeder will have an answer, and you'll hear the emotion in it. Now, here's a number that puts all of this in perspective. When you do a DNA test on a dog, you can see something called the coefficient of inbreeding, or COI. It measures how genetically related a dog's parents are. John Seabrook tested his Goldendoodle, Herman, and Herman's COI came back at less than 1%. A typical purebred Golden Retriever, around 20%. A typical purebred Poodle, also around 20%. That's the genetic diversity advantage of a thoughtful cross. It's not a guarantee of health. Nothing is. We're talking about living beings, but it stacks the odds in your dog's favor. And organizations like GANA protect that advantage with rules like no breeding dogs related within 3 generations. GANA doesn't just recommend all this testing, by the way. They require it on every dog in a member's program. And they employ a registrar who verifies every certificate and audits litters. Accountability verified by a third party, not once, but 3 times over. So, how do you spot the breeders who aren't doing this? Watch for these red flags. A website where you can add a puppy to a cart like it's a sweater. Endless scrolling pages of available puppies across many different breeds. A customer service team that answers instead of the breeder themselves, often with a friendly line like, "We handle the calls so the breeder can be with the dogs." Those are the fingerprints of a broker, a middleman marketing puppies from sources you'll never see. A real breeder wants to know your lifestyle, your family, your schedule, because they're matching a specific puppy to a specific home. A broker wants to know your credit card number. And if a breeder hesitates or gets vague when you ask to see OFA certificates, there's no good reason an OFA certificate can't be shared. None. Treat vagueness as your answer and keep looking. Now for the fun part, coats and colors, and a little redemption for my Hershey story. Remember how I said she didn't stay chocolate? Poodles carry something called the progressive fading gene. Black, blue, brown, and red coats can gradually lighten, usually starting around 6 months and continue until 2 or 3 years old. If you gently pull back the hair on the doodle's muzzle and look at the roots, you can often preview where their color is heading. Our rich chocolate Hershey faded into what's called, in Poodle land, a silver beige. Gorgeous, just not remotely chocolate. And because my family apparently never learns, we doubled down and named our black Cavapoo Nestle. I'm always outvoted on pet names in my house. My most embarrassing secret? I don't even love chocolate that much. I'm a salty chips kind of gal. So if you're choosing a puppy partly for that exact shade, know the shade may be temporary. One color I take seriously is Merle. That marbled silvery pattern is striking. But Merle doesn't naturally occur in golden retrievers or poodles, which means another breed entered the line somewhere. And if 2 Merle carriers are bred together, the puppies are at serious risk of blindness and deafness. If your heart is set on Merle, you need a breeder doing meticulous genetic testing on both parents. Full stop. And one myth to retire forever, there is, and when you hear Doodles described as hypoallergenic, I just want to point out that term is accurate, but it's not what we think of when we hear it. Hypoallergenic, and I did a whole episode on this, means less allergenic, not non. I am allergic to dogs myself, and I do beautifully with furnished poodle-like coats. But allergies vary. If someone reacts to saliva rather than dander, the curliest coat in the world won't help. A good breeder will talk honestly with you about this, and many will arrange ways to test your sensitivity before you commit. As for grooming, these gorgeous low-shedding coats are a genuine commitment. Mats are not a cosmetic issue. They pull on skin and they hurt. I have full episodes on coat care, including my conversations with professional groomers, and I'll link those in the show notes. So let's bring this home. How do you actually find a breeder worthy of your family? First, if you want a Goldendoodle specifically, start with the Goldendoodle Association of North America's breeder directory at goldendoodleassociation.com. Every breeder there has verified audited health testing. That's not marketing. That's enforcement. Second, for other doodle crosses, Bernedoodles, Cavapoos, Sheepadoodles, and beyond, most don't have a club like GANA holding breeders accountable. That gap is exactly why I created the Gold Standard Circle, my invitation-only network of breeders that I personally vetted, asked the hard questions of, and would trust with my own family. You'll find that curated directory linked in the show notes at thedoodlepro.com. Third, wherever you search, lead with the questions from today. Show me the OFA certificates. What tough calls have you had to make? How do you match puppies to families? Will you take this dog back at any point in their life? And finally, the advice I heard from the most experienced breeders in the country and the advice I live by: set the aesthetics aside. The color will likely fade anyway. You're not choosing a coat. You're choosing a family member for the next 12 plus years. Choose the temperament, the health, and the breeder. Let the color be a bonus. My logo is a red doodle. I love them. My own doodle is black. He photographs terribly, and he's perfect for my family. And that's the whole point. One more word for anyone listening to this with a knot in their stomach right now, realizing the breeder you used didn't meet these standards. Please hear me. There is no shame here. None. I made that exact journey with Hershey, and she was deeply loved every day of her too short life. But we all start somewhere, and now you know more. For your next dog and every friend who asks your advice, that's how this gets better. One informed family at a time. So here's your key takeaway. The Goldendoodle is not an accident and not a designer fad. They're a dog with real history, real working genetics, and real needs. And when you understand the hardware and run the right operating system, they're one of the most extraordinary family companions on this planet. Doodles are different, wonderfully so. And if today's episode opened your eyes, I have something bigger for you. This July 27th through the 29th, I'm hosting the Doodle Pro Summit, Doodle Parent Edition. 3 days with world-renowned veterinarians, trainers, groomers, and behavior experts, all focused on one promise: raise the whole doodle, not just train one. We're covering health, behavior, grooming, enrichment, all things we touched on today in depth with the actual experts. Save your complimentary spot now at doodleprosummit.com. That's doodleprosummit.com. And the link's right at the top of the show notes. And do not miss next Thursday. 3 members of the GANA board join me. Kelsey of Fox Creek Farm, Amy Lane's business partner, GANA President Sherry, and Breeder Mentorship Chair Brenda. They share what really happens behind the scenes of ethical breeding, the red flags hiding on beautiful websites, and an insider tip about breeders who claim gold level standards, but quietly left the association when they didn't meet them. You'll want to hear it straight from them, so make sure you're subscribed so it drops right into your feed. Thank you for spending this time with me and your doodle today. I'm Corinne Gearhart, the Doodle Pro, and I'll see you next Thursday. Thanks for spending this time with me. If today's episode helped you, be sure to follow the show so you don't miss what's coming next. I'll see you in the next episode.